Hey, goal getters. I wanted to share with you today just a brief overview of the steps that I have found to be most helpful when it comes to actually accomplishing goals. Now, if you've ever attended one of my workshops in the past, you know that any one of these topics could be a whole class in themselves. So in this video, I'm not going to dive deep into any one of those. It's just going to be a brief overview. However, you can look forward to other videos to come in the future. And of course, I'm always here to support you if you have any questions or need any help going deep with any one of these. But I hope you'll find this beneficial, whether you recently took the workshop or it's been in the past. I hope this will be a good refresher for you. So first and foremost, of course, what are your goals? What are your intentions? We have to know what they are, right? And I would recommend you brainstorm it out. I mean, just write down everything that comes to your mind. But then review the list. What are your top, I would say two, three, maybe three most important goals, most important intentions? And people have asked me what's the difference between a goal and an intention. And basically, a goal describes something that you want to do in the future, or it focuses on an external accomplishment, where an intention focuses on and describes something you want to feel. It's more of an internal reflection. So, for example, it could reflect like a relationship with yourself, how you want to maybe you're at work, overcome your inner critic, or be more peaceful in the world, or is something of that sort is an intention, the energy you want to bring into a space, where a goal is more something we set steps for to accomplish outside of ourselves. So I hope that helps a little bit in the difference between a goal and an intention, but both are wonderful. And you may even have one in each category. So brainstorm them out, but then really narrow it down to two, maybe three of your top most important ones. What is it that you are ready to make happen, that you must make happen, that you are just driven? It's time, you got to do. Circle those, really list out the priorities. The other ones can come and it doesn't mean they won't happen as well. But you really want to narrow down where you're going to put your focus. What you focus on the most is what's going to get the most attention from you. And those that are your top priority deserve your attention. So start there. And I think of the wheel of life, the different categories. If you're uncertain about what your goals are, you can take a look at the different categories that you may have seen in the wheel of life tool. And those are like health, family, money, relationships, contribution, or service, maybe your vision, your career, personal development, learning, spirituality. So you can dive deep into looking at each of those areas if you want, and how fulfilled you feel in each area. And then maybe work on the ones where you feel are lacking a little bit. Or maybe you already know right off the top, this is what's most important in my life right now. So really narrow that down. But then you also have to look and make sure that they are SMART goals. The first, SMART is an acronym that many people have seen when it comes to the language around setting goals. And what it stands for is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. You want to be specific. Now, granted, I personally encourage, no matter what your goal is, to always have it in your mind and your consciousness and even written down on paper, this or something greater. So you want to allow the room for the universe to show up and support you in an even greater way than you ever imagined. But you also want to be specific. If you say, I want to be healthier, well, what does that mean? Because maybe what you really mean is this, but maybe it shows up as something completely different. Or maybe you want to say, I want to advance in my career. Well, what does that mean? So really be specific. Define what it is you're talking about. Be specific. Really come up. It's like if you say, I want to lose weight, and you lose 2 pounds, check, done, accomplished. Or did you mean something different? Maybe you meant a few more than 2, right? Really be specific, detail it out. And then is it measurable? Again, if you say you want a promotion, now that's great. You can measure it as you got a promotion, but what does a promotion mean? If you say you want a different job, did you mean a promotion? Did you mean a lateral move? Did you mean a different company? Really look at how are you going to measure it? And that may show up different depending on which category. Maybe your personal development means taking a class or reading a book. And measurable would mean taking the class, actually taking it, or how many books did you read on that category, whatever it is, it just needs to be measurable so you can see the progress. That's really the whole point of that. Can you see that you actually get closer to your goal? So be specific. Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Maybe you want to get new clients. Don't set your goal to have 100 new clients by Friday. I mean, that may not happen. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, but you really want it to be achievable. If you're like, I want to lose 50 pounds, maybe give yourself more than 5 days to accomplish that in, right? You really want it to be achievable, and you want it to be realistic. That's what the R is for. And those two kind of go hand in hand. Now, some things, maybe your goal, it's achievable, but it's going to take you longer than a year. So that later on, we'll talk about breaking down our goals into action steps. So achievable and realistic. Some things just aren't realistic, right? So you really want to check in to make sure your goal is. And then timely. So what is the time frame it's going to take you? Really set a time. This is what I want to accomplish by this date. And the reason you want to do that is, for one, so you can measure your progress, right? If you say you want to lose 50 pounds by the end of this year, you can't wait until December to start your action plan, because again, then it goes back to not being realistic or achievable. Then you have to measure it out, and that helps you create your action plan if you have a time by which you want to do it. All right, if I'm going to have 100 new clients by the end of this year, what are some ways I can accomplish that? What are some steps I have to take to get there? So again, make sure your goals are measurable, those top 3. And if they don't fit in there, ask yourself why. Why is it you want to accomplish this? And maybe tweak the way in which you're looking at it, because maybe the goal is something different, and maybe you haven't been specific enough or narrowed it down enough. So really look, are they SMART? And then here's another step that is kind of a little bit what I'm going to call about real talk. Real talk is being real with yourself. You need to categorize your goals. Some are goals. Goals are something that maybe it's a goal or intention. Maybe it's a stretch goal. A stretch goal for me is something that's out of my comfort zone. I'm not even sure of the how. It's going to require, some support from God, from the universe, but it's stretching me out of that comfort zone. Those are different types of goals that you will set steps for, take action towards, work towards, right? That's a goal. But sometimes things land on our goal list that maybe are a bucket list item. And a bucket list is something you'd love to do maybe one day, maybe not. Maybe you'd like to, I don't know, whatever it is, see the Northern Lights. That's on my bucket list. Now, it could be on my goal list if I choose for it to be, which means I'm going to pay attention, here in Michigan up north, NASA has a webpage where they're tracking the dates that when it's most likely to see up in northern Michigan, to be able to see the Northern Lights. I can take the steps to make that a goal, to make it happen. But if I'm not going to take the steps, that's a bucket list item. That's something I hope might happen one day. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I encourage it. If you've ever attended one of my workshops, I love giving out the little wish books, where as a practice of expanding your imagination and getting excited or removing limits, you write down everything that ever crosses your mind that might be fun to do or see or learn or be, right? That's just an exciting, kind of experiment in expanding our mind. Those aren't necessarily our goals. They may not even make it on our bucket list, right? That's just like, ooh, that'd be fun, because then it gets you excited. But a bucket list item is something that's maybe one day. And sometimes we take something off our bucket list item and say, I'm making that happen this year. But if you have something as a goal that you're not really going to take action steps towards, maybe it shouldn't be on your goal list. But also, another thing that trickles into our bucket list or our goal list is our to-do list. Some things are not a goal. They're just do it. Nike's onto something. Some things are to just do, right? If maybe you need to schedule your annual mammogram, that doesn't need to be a goal. That needs to be a pick up the phone and make the phone call, make the appointment, just schedule it, right? Just do it. So be really real with yourself. Some things are just do it, right? You don't need to set a goal to, I don't know, get that letter to the post office, right? That's what, just do it. Maybe you need to take some actions to support yourself, like set a reminder or, whatever it is, but look at your list, look at your goals. Is it a to-do list item? Is it a goal you're ready to work towards and make happen? Or is it for the bucket list that maybe you'll do one day, maybe not? So really be real with yourself. Then the next step is to ask yourself why. This to me is one of the most important steps of all. Why is it you want to accomplish this goal? How bad do you want it is one way to really look at it. But really identify the why. And if you say, well, why do you want to accomplish this? And the word should pops up, like, well, my doctor says I should, then you really need to reevaluate if it's really something you actually want or not. But I invite you to ask yourself that question, why, at least 3, maybe 4 or 5 times. Why do you want to accomplish this goal? Why is this important to you? And then when you get that why, ask yourself again, well, why is that important to you? Well, because of this. Well, why is that important? The deeper you can go, the more into your heart space, the more into your feelings of why this is important to me, is going to help motivate and fuel the actions that you take and your dedication to making it happen. If your why is like, I don't know, because I probably should, or because my friends are, or whatever, then it's probably not going to happen. It'll fall away. You're not going to be committed to it. But the deeper, more personal why is huge. And one way to get to that is to, first of all, close your eyes and visualize the outcome. What will be different about your life once you accomplish this, upon completion? What will be different? What will be better? What does that vision look like? Does it excite you? Could it almost bring you to tears of joy? The deeper you go with your why, the more powerful the fuel will be behind your actions to getting there. And you should revisit your why often, because sometimes it changes. Maybe we're working towards something and then that something changes and it's not even what we want anymore. But we don't check in often enough to really see. And sometimes we're just on an endless, like a hamster wheel kind of thing, right? So if we check in with our why often, reevaluate it, really, again, look at, why is this important to me? What will be different upon completion? Close your eyes, picture it, and see what shows up. How do you feel? Does it excite you? Does it drive you? Is it a passion? Is it really important to you? And why is it important? How will your life be better? Write down that why. Truly put it somewhere you'll see often, because that why is the fuel to the vehicle, so to speak, that will get you there. Now, the next thing is also really important, and it's clearing the obstacles. They say if you want your life to change, you have to change the way you think. And most of our obstacles are right here. They're old negative thought patterns. One of the most popular, one of mine, is there's not enough time. That's one of the stories in my head that keeps me from accomplishing what I want, that holds me back, that gets in my way. And there's a list, right? There's so many different obstacles that are up here, old thought patterns, thoughts and beliefs that don't support us getting there, that if we believe them, our efforts just kind of fall away. So don't write down your negative thought pattern. But what I do invite you to do is think of 2 or 3 belief systems that would support you accomplishing your goal. If time is your challenge, maybe it's, I have enough time for all the things that are important to me. That's a simple belief system. And if you can believe that, because it's true, and if you focus on that belief, and you basically, you're changing the record that's been playing in your head. Instead of, I don't have enough time, I have all the time I need for what's important to me. I have more than enough time to accomplish what I make most important, what my priorities are. However you can believe it, because again, now this kind of ties into affirmations. And if you write down those 2 to 3 belief systems that support your goals, you suddenly have instant affirmations. And affirmations can be powerful if you can believe them. If you say, I have enough money in the world, all the money in the world to pay off everybody's bills, your mind is going, no, you don't. So it has to be something you believe. I mean, where if you're walking around going, there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough, that's going to absolutely create your experience of not enough. But if you can say, it just a little bit different, turn that belief system around, that I have access to all my needs are met. I have more than enough to share and to spare, whatever it is that you can believe just even in the possibility of, those beliefs will shift the way in which you see the world and the way in which your action steps will be taken. Rather than them fizzling away, they'll support you and build you up. So first obstacle is to shift here. But then also do your forgiveness work. Unforgiveness, I should say, is one of the greatest obstacles because it holds us back in our heart space, in our mind as well, but also right here. Many prosperity teachers say that all debt is a form of unforgiveness. Whew, really breathe that in. Now, forgiveness work is definitely one of those topics that is a whole class in itself. And I heard your request. There will be a class coming in the near future, something to look forward to, where we'll really dive deep into this topic. And I know it's not a light topic, so I don't say this lightly. But if you can work on forgiveness, and maybe you don't even know what it is you're holding on to, but there's a grudge, there's a feeling. If you can do that work, that will free up a space within you, within your heart, within your life, within your mind, that will open up for opportunities and blessings to come in. A couple of the things that you can do along the lines of forgiveness are, for example, the 70 times 7. For 7 days in a row, every day, write down 70 times, I, your name, forgive so-and-so completely and unconditionally. You don't need to write the story, just write that line. I completely, I completely and unconditionally, support, forgive this person. And just 70 times for 7 days in a row. A lot of story behind that. Again, I can't dive deep in this space. But that is a powerful exercise. And there's a lot of documentation on it, on the benefits of it. Another can be simply writing letters. You don't have to send them. You don't have to give them to somebody, but writing it out, writing a letter is powerful. Or working with Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian prayer for forgiveness. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Just even in your mind, repeating that is a powerful exercise. And again, there's deep lessons that go with that. But that's another powerful tool. Or simply turning our grievances into gratitude, looking at something positive or something that you can take away from an experience that may have hurt. And know that forgiveness work is not just about other people, that person out there or that experience over there. The most powerful forgiveness work begins with forgiving ourselves. So the greatest act of clearing an obstacle is forgiveness. Just consider, again, a class will be coming. There's lots of information, a lot of resources I can recommend to you on that. But that's the next step. Greatest act of clearing obstacles. And then finally, ask yourself this question, and this is a big one too. And this is a powerful question. And it requires a little bit of real talk again. Ask yourself this question, whatever the goal is, or whatever the intention is. What about me must change in order for me to accomplish this goal? Now, to be clear, this isn't what must I change about others, because there's a quick setup for failure, right? We don't have the power to change anybody but the one in the mirror. So what about me must change in order for me to accomplish this goal? Now, I'll tell you, the first thing that pops in your head is probably the big one. And it's often the one where we're like, yeah, I don't want to change that. But if we're not willing to make the change, to take the chance, then the change isn't going to happen. The goal isn't going to be achieved. So what about me must change in order for me to accomplish this goal? Now, maybe that is your habits. Maybe there's patterns that you have that don't support this, that you need to shift, that you need to find a way, and that'll be a part of your MAP, your massive action plan. That'll be part of the steps we take. But to be real clear about what must change will give you something to work with. Maybe it's your language, just the way in which you talk to yourself. Instead of, oh, I have to do this, I get to do this. Or, oh, what if it goes wrong? Well, even if it goes that way. Just shifting your language, the way you speak, but also the way you speak to yourself. Maybe that's it. Or maybe it's time management. Maybe you just really need to, again, revisit that why. Why is this so important to you? And then put it on your calendar. I mean, like you would anything else. If you're supposed to attend a birthday shower or a wedding, you put it on your calendar. You block that time out for that. Maybe block that time out for you. But you have to be really real with yourself about what must change if you're going to accomplish this. Because if you're not willing to do that, then guess what? The same goals will be on your list next year as maybe they were last year, right? So that's a few ways to clear some obstacles and to know what you're working with, right? The next step is to create your MAP. M.A.P, Massive Action Plan. If you're going to drive from New York to California, you're not going to just hop in the car randomly and head out, leaving everything at home, just you in the car with no direction, right? No compass, no GPS, no MapQuest, whatever. MapQuest, dating myself, right? You're going to, first of all, where do you want to go in California? That's a big state. Do you have a city, a destination, maybe a place you want to go to? Then you need a map or a GPS. You're probably going to need credit cards or cash for gas. Not probably. You're going to need to put gas in your car. You're going to need to know what freeway to take, how to get there. Maybe you're going to need some snacks in the car. Maybe you need to put air in the tires, change of clothes, take time off work. All these different things that are going to be required if you're just going to randomly go drive from New York to California. You're not just going to hop in the car and be like, peace out, see ya. Maybe I'll get there without a plan, without knowing which direction I'm headed. And you're just going to randomly hop on the freeway, right? No, you're not going to do that. You'll be like, all right, I want to go to Disneyland. I want to be there for this many days. I'm going to need tickets. It's going to take this many days to drive there. I'm going to need to fill up gas. Maybe someone else is coming with you. You know, whatever it is, you're going to need to plan it out and take the steps. So the first thing to do is break it down. If your goal is to go to Disneyland in California, what does that mean? All right, you're either going to need a flight or a car. You're going to need the money, the tickets. You're going to need the time off work. Here's all the things that are required to make that happen. And then you're going to break it down further of what action steps are required to make each one of those things happen, right? All right, you're going to need tickets. Well, how do I get tickets? Do I call a travel agency? Do I, go there directly? Do I go on the website? How much are they going to cost? Do I have that much available right now? How many people are coming with me, right? No matter what, are there different prices for kids than there is for adults? What is going to be needed? Do I need sunscreen? Is it going to be hot? Do we need shorts or a jacket? All these different things are what's required to think about to make that happen. And then there's going to be action steps broken down for each one of those. So it really takes looking at the big picture and then breaking it down into the details. But then you need to decide really, what's the first step? What is a massive action you can take right now? In fact, I challenge you today, whenever you're watching this, to look at your top 1 or 2 goals and say, what action step, what 1 or 2 things can I do before this week is up? Don't just ask what you can do it. Truly take action now. Never leave a point of inspiration without taking action. And maybe that step is nothing more than, going online and requesting a brochure just to get the information. Whatever it is, take action now and make that consistent. Every day, ask yourself, look at what you're doing throughout the day. Is what I'm giving my time to supporting the life that I desire or supporting the goal I'm attempting to achieve? Because if it's not, is it really important? If it's really important, what are you doing about it, right? So what action can you take right now, today, before the end of this week? Some action. Maybe it's a weekend and who you need to call isn't open. So you go put a reminder on your calendar on Monday morning to make that phone call. Whatever it is, take action now. The more action steps we take, the more we're telling the universe, I'm serious about this, and the more the universe will show up to support you. And again, what I said earlier, always add this or something greater. Because maybe there's an even greater way, a more magnificent way that this can show up in your life than even you imagined. Or maybe the route you thought you were taking to get there might look a little different and it'll be even better. So just give yourself permission, even though you want to be specific about what you're aiming for, give yourself permission to allow that space around it to be even greater than what you pictured. And finally, after you've broken it down, what is it going to require? What are the action steps going to be to take to get there? What do I need to do first? Let me take an action. How am I going to plan that out between now and then? Really go deep with that. And I'm here to support you if you want any kind of support in setting up your massive action plan. Now set yourself up for success. And this is one of the most powerful steps. And I've probably said that a few times now, but this is also about real talk. Going back, what tends to get in the way? What patterns do I have? How can I set myself up for success? How can I be prepared when maybe an obstacle shows up to go around it? And this, one of the biggest things I recommend in this step is to get an accountability partner. Now, maybe don't tell everybody and their brother about your goal. Don't tell all the neighbors, don't tell all the family members, because, we're our own worst critic. We have the inner critic that is constantly running its mouth. And, my recommendation is say, thank you for sharing. Now go sit down. That's enough for us to deal with our own inner critic. We don't need critics outside of us as well. So you don't have to tell everybody what you're aiming towards, but you should have a nice close circle support group, or even at least one accountability partner, one person that will support you, that will keep you honest, that will call you out on your stuff when needed, that you can check in with, talk it out with, brainstorm it with. And this should be somebody that's a regular part of your life. None of us were created to do this life thing alone. So find yourself an accountability partner, someone to support. Maybe somebody with the same goal, but it doesn't have to be the same goal. But sometimes it's nice, like if you want to, start working out more, it's great to have a gym buddy, right? Or a walking partner. But it doesn't have to be the same goal, but somebody that will hold you accountable and that you can do the same for. Find yourself a support system. Set yourself up for success. And maybe that means preparing the space. Maybe, that workout doesn't have to happen at the gym. Maybe, you clear a space where you can do your Zumba videos at home or whatever it is. Set the scene, prepare the space, get what you need in there, set yourself up, whatever that means for what you're working towards. If it's to work on decluttering the basement or a room, maybe again, in that room, maybe you need boxes to pack up stuff that you're going to give away, or so get those boxes. Or maybe you need that new shelf because you're going to organize on it. Go ahead, order that. Whatever it is, set yourself up for success. Create the time on your calendar. Schedule the time. Actually schedule the time for whatever it is going to take those action steps. If you don't schedule it, it may not happen. So you're not setting yourself up for success, right? Create the space, make you a priority. Habit stacking is a great way to set yourself up for success. If you can take something you're already doing and match it up with something that you want to be doing, then they kind of support each other. Those two habits support each other. So really look at ways you can pair it up with something else. Maybe that's like every morning you make your morning smoothie, but you've been meaning to take your vitamins, but you often forget. Maybe you put your vitamins next to the blender where you make your smoothies. I mean, that's just a simple example. But look at ways in which you can make it easier for yourself, which again goes back to looking at what are the obstacles and how can you overcome them. Also, revise your routine. Really look at how you spend your time. And is there something that maybe you don't need to be doing? Maybe isn't supporting your goals? And is there space where you can put in something that supports them on a regular basis? And that could simply mean, maybe every morning when you wake up or every night before you go to bed, you take 1 or 2 minutes to close your eyes and visualize the outcome. Just picture it, get excited about it, step into it, feel it. That 1 or 2 minute visualization is powerful because it keeps refueling your why. Add that into your routine and you'll be amazed at how much harder you work towards achieving your goal when you take the time to picture it and get excited about it each day, even just for a minute. And we all have a minute. Some other things you might do is create visual reminders. That could be your vision board, your treasure map, That could be sticky notes with positive affirmations. Get whiteboard markers and write yourself notes on your bedroom or your bathroom mirror, but create visual reminders that are always going to be there because we get so busy in life that things fall away. Our brains get full, we get wrapped up in the moment. But when we can see things, it's like, oh, yeah. And if it makes you feel good, maybe it's if one of your goals is to take a trip somewhere, change the background on your desktop, on your computer, to be a picture of that destination. So every time you turn on your computer, you're like, ooh, yeah, awesome. And you start working towards that, right? Find yourself just whatever it is, something that drives you towards it and put it where you'll see it often. Another thing can be planning in advance for, and this is, again, it's just setting yourself up for success by planning in advance what is the easiest way around the obstacles. So if all of a sudden the inner critic shows up, how do you recognize it? Or when you start to get down and discouraged, just really be real with how do you recognize it and how can you pivot your thought out of it? And some of those visual reminders might be an instant pivot, like you just look at something for a minute and think about it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, yep, naysayers, get out of my head. But it could also be different things that maybe, somebody you are close with, you can give them permission of, hey, if you see me doing this behavior that doesn't support my goals, will you just point it out? I mean, gently, but firmly if needed. And so they can help you pivot. But really set yourself up for success in a way that says, all right, when this happens, this is how I'm going to get around it, or this is how I'm going to catch myself before I go too far down that negative rabbit hole, right? And, maybe you need to set alarms or, ask Alexa to remind you of things that you want to be doing, but be gentle with yourself in this process, but also be really real. How bad do you want this? Are you willing to do the work it's going to take? And are you willing for it to be even greater than you imagined? This or something greater. I believe in you. I'm here to support you. You don't have to do it alone. So I'm going to close with this that I read at the beginning of this year's Goal Getters workshop. So if you'll just take a moment to really take in these words, take a moment to picture the outcome of the goals that you set, to get excited, to believe in yourself. Today will be a wonderful day. I shall meet people I like and who like me. I shall see many new opportunities to advance my interests. Money will come to me from sources unexpectedly. I am healthy and happy. I now put my thoughts in order and refuse to be disturbed by external conditions. My work will be easier and more pleasant because I am evolving through my job to something better. I see that which is only beautiful and good. I refuse to be involved in quarreling, confusion, and discord. I refuse to gossip and demean myself by uttering negative words or obscene language. I control my temper and tongue. I now accept the fact that I am one with the eternal, and I will act in dignified, gracious, and loving manner all day long. Today, this moment, right now, you have the choice to create the life you desire. What is one action you can take right now to support the goals you are working towards achieving? Take that step. It's all up to you. Bless you.